Welcome, Southside families. We have recorded this video just to help with the transition to standards-based grading. All third, fourth, and fifth grade students in Woodford County this year are going to be switching over to standards-based grading versus the normal ABCs, letter grades.
Yep.
And so we thought we'd create this video just to tell you a little bit about that.
All right, and we're going to go pretty quickly through this just to give you an overview of what standards-based grading looks like. But just know we have linked our presentation, so if you'd like to look at it more thoroughly and take some more time for yourself, that is totally understandable. So we're going to get right to it. So a couple things that we want you to understand today. Our objectives for teaching this to you. The first thing, we just want to have an opportunity for you to learn the difference between standards-based grading and the grading system that maybe we were more familiar with growing up and that we have utilized in the past. We also want you to understand what standards-based grading is and why we are doing it. And last but not least, we want to give you a chance to interpret your child's progress report and what their end of the 9 weeks report card is going to look like. So, what is standards-based grading? Basically, standards-based grading is a student-centered approach that is the most focused on measuring students' mastery of specific standards, and that just includes their learning, feedback, and of course, growth. So we've got a nice graphic, and we've got a couple really nice graphics for you to just help you understand a little bit more. But standards-based grading really focuses and follows this graphic. So you can see your kids are learning a new skill, focusing on a new standard, and then they're having the opportunity to practice the skill. And you can even see make mistakes is a piece of this learning process that we have highlighted for you. Because they then, once they make those mistakes, they have a chance to analyze, fix the mistakes. Then they're assessed, and then they might make some more mistakes. Then they might ask for help. So it's just this ongoing process of learning, true learning taking place, rather than they take a quiz, they get a letter grade, and that's the end of it. This is a cycle of learning. So they are able to learn and grow as they progress in that standard. So you can see we've got another nice graphic for you of just comparing the traditional grading system versus our new standards-based grading system. We do have similarities between the two. Both systems can use numbers or letters. Both are, of course, used to communicate with you your students' progress and understanding. We are using it on the elementary school level, of course, but you can even go up to the middle and high school levels as well. And both are using multiple pieces of evidence to have the grades. So you can see our traditional system that we used before. That was, like Mr. Reynolds had said, your numbers, your letters, your 95A, your 86B. And those were just more so based on the quiz, the activity in class. But standards-based grading is all about the standard that class is learning. So that is focused on the performance of the standard. So we'll kind of go into it a little bit more as we go along, but it is based on the most recent evidence that your child has displayed within that standard. So let me keep going and give you a little more insight between the two of them. So you can see now, instead of seeing A, B, C, or D, or even an F on your child's progress report, we are using a different scale. And this is, in my opinion, probably going to be the one that is the most shifting of your mindset. So drop the A, B, C, and D from your brain. That's the easiest way to go about it. So now you're going to see things like these words, such as area of concern, progressing, meets, or exceeds. We'll go into detail of exactly what each one of those means very soon.
You know, it's much like what they did in the primary, though. So If you had a student here in Woodford County in kindergarten through second grade, they basically use the same system then. So it won't be that much different.
Right. Exactly. And that's a great point, Mr. Reynolds, especially for our third graders. I mean, you guys you've known that for K through 2. So fourth and fifth, you might have to kind of think back to when your child was in those primary grades, but you're exactly right. Very similar to the primary report card. So, and like I said, these assignments are assessed by the mastery and competence of each one of our standards. So you can see this is just an example, but your traditional report card, math, 95% A is what you would see on their progress report. But now you're going to see exactly what standard your child has been working on. And then you will see those words that we discussed, area of concern, progressing, meets, or exceeds. So lots more detail, and we'll talk about that shortly as well. So going into our next segue, this is why. Why are we doing this? because it just provides us with a more holistic picture of our kids. It shows an accurate picture of what that child is doing in class right now and what they are able to do. So this is my favorite graphic in the entire one because it resonated with me the most. You take your car to the shop, your car's not working, car trouble is the worst. Mechanic looks at you and say, your car is a B plus. Well, would you rather them say it's a B plus or give you a list and break it down for you so you can see where your car is performing? So now I can see, wow, my brakes need attention. That's something that I would want to know if I'm driving my car.
Very important.
That's an important piece of my car. And that's so much more detailed, and it gives me so much more clarity when I can see that breakdown. Well, it's the same for our kids. If I get my daughter's report card and it just says reading A, that's great. I feel like she's doing well, but a standards-based grading report card is now going to break it down for me so I can see each standard in reading and each area in reading and see where she's performing. So, like I said, it's just going to give you more clarity. It gives clarity for the teachers. It gives clarity for our parents because you know exactly what's being taught and how your child is doing on those specific skills, not just reading in general as a blanket statement. And you can have more focused and clear conversations with your kids because you know exactly what's going on in their classes and exactly what standards have been covered. So it just gives you a really clear picture of how your child is performing. And it also gives your child a chance to receive that specific feedback. So now when we're honing in and focusing on each specific standard, your child's strengths can shine and we can really see, wow, they are doing so well in this area and it's very evident. So our strengths are revealed. Just think back to that car. Now I can see my car is doing really well in this area. You're going to have the same thing with your child. And it just allows them to shine and shows their strengths that could have been hidden in the previous grading system. And then finally, it just gives us direction. So it's giving you that holistic picture of each student and giving them a chance to really visualize. You as the parent kind of get to visualize where they've been and where they're headed because you can see that map of the standards that they have covered and their next steps within their learning. So now we're to our categories. So you can see our 4 categories that you might see on your child's report card or their progress report. Remember, A, B, C, D, E, F, or, all the letters are gone. All the letters are gone, and we're focusing on these 4 areas. So we have our area of concern, and if you were to see that on your child's progress report, their report card, that okay, my kid is needing lots of assistance with this skill. That's nothing to be afraid of. That's nothing to be disappointed about. It just means they're needing help. Does it mean they're going to stay an area of concern forever? Absolutely not. That's one of my favorite parts of standards-based grading because it is so fluid and it changes as they master that standard. So you might see area of concern. You might see progressing, which just means they're progressing, they're learning. They might need a little bit of help. Initially, when they're first learning a standard, this is going to be very common because they're being exposed to this standard for the very first time and they are learning and they're still learning the foundation of the standard. So progressing is still good.
Yeah, so that's probably what you're going to see in a lot of the cases on our midterms.
Right.
Since we're just beginning in these standards, the students will likely be progressing in them.
Absolutely. And the beauty of our reading and math standards is they spiral. So they come back to each standard as they go. So they might be progressing the first time around because it's their first exposure, but then they will have another chance to be exposed to that standard, and that's where they can continue to move up the scale. MEETS is in green. This is where we want every single one of our students. We want them to be in the MEETS category, and that means they are able to show mastery consistently. So that is our target for our kids. But we do have a final category, and that is exceeds. So if your child is in this category, they're able to go above and beyond and take learning to a deeper level. Now, I'm going to show you another graphic that really resonated with me as well, and us both.
Of course.
Because now you can see, I challenge you to look at the target right now. You see a child riding their bike. That's what we want for our kids. We want them to master the standards. So giving the analogy of bike riding, we want them to be able to ride their bike. Now, let's look below the target. We can see, the progressing, that would be the level 2. That's okay that they have training wheels. They're learning. So they're progressing. And then you can see the very first one, area of concern. That's the younger kid maybe, or that's more support. They've got a tricycle, so a lot more support. And then we just continue to move up. We go from the tricycle, now we have training wheels. Still a little bit of support, still okay. And then we can get to them riding independently. Take a look at the very last one. That would be the exceeds, the number 4. He's popping a wheelie. It's great. That's great that this child can pop a wheelie here, but that's not the expectation that we have for our students. We want our students to be able to master the standards. If they can go above and beyond, if they can take that learning to the next level, that should be celebrated, which is why we have that as one of our scales. However, please know, do not be disappointed if you get your child's report card or their progress report and it's not exceeds on every single standard, because that is something that can only happen sometimes depending on the level of learning taking place. So that is just a really, really good analogy of what standards-based grading and what those proficiency scales look like. All right, so your child will be getting a progress report coming very soon, and you will see a breakdown of our standards, what we are learning, and then of course you will see the scale next to it, whether they are an area of concern, they are progressing, they are meeting, or they are exceeding. So it's going to be very broken down for you and very clear, and we are so excited about this. I know that it's a shift in all of our mindset, so just know that we are new in this endeavor, and it's a very exciting journey, and we welcome you to come with us on this, and we appreciate all of your support and all that you do always.
Yeah, if you have questions, feel free to reach out to your teacher or to Miss Durr or myself, and we'll do our best to answer them.
All right. Thank you guys so much.